Good morning. Welcome to our Thursday, July 25th, 2024 Town of East Gwillimbury agenda. For today, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good morning and welcome to the July 25th, 2024 meeting of Committee of the Whole, which I now will call to order. Madam Clerk, for the record of this meeting, please include that Councillor Roy-DiClemente is absent with notice. Additionally, before proceeding with today's agenda, I would like to inform you that there have been 3 updates to the Committee of the Whole agenda based on items discussed at Tuesday's committee meeting. These updates are as follows. Item E1, a deputation regarding the pedestrian crossover on Mount Albert Road at Countryman Road. Item I1, inclusion of the Development Services Planning Branch Report DS 2024-20, which was deferred from Tuesday's committee meeting. And item P1, a notice of motion related to a deputation made at Tuesday's committee meeting. With that, we will now proceed with item B. I'd like to ask, are there any declarations of interest from members of council? Seeing none, I will move to our land acknowledgement. Item C, the town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nation and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. We are at item D in our agenda, and that would be community announcements. Are there any announcements from members of council? I'm not seeing any. We have a deputant, Mr. Ghassan, making a deputation to committee regarding the pedestrian crossover on Mount Albert Road at Countryman Road.
Madam Mayor, our deputant is joining us remotely. Mr. Ghassan, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of council, and those present. I'd like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. So I'm here on behalf of, first, my name is Mustafa Ghassan from Delta Urban Inc. I am the group manager on behalf of the Sharon West Landowners Group. I wanted to have him provide an update regarding the crossover at Mount Albert and Countryman. And unfortunately, Councillor Roy-DiClemente is not here today. I know this is close to her interest and heart. And I just wanted to let everybody know that we've been working through the detailed design diligently with both staff at the town and the region.
Mustafa, apologies. Would you be able to speak closer to the microphone? We're having a hard time hearing the volume.
Sure. I was indicating that we worked diligently with town and regional staff and received detailed design approval or confirmation of it in early June of this year. And we have since went to 13 contractors to tender the work.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We are not hearing your presentation clearly here in the council chambers.
Our production does boost the volume.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just bear with us for a moment. I'm just going to quickly check with our production to see if we are able to find a fix for this. One moment, please.
Madam Mayor, this is Councillor Johns and Madam Clerk. Just so you know, I can hear Mr. Ghassan like loud and clear. It's perfectly crystal clear on my end, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on our end because we're having a hard time hearing Brian.
Yeah.
Somebody turn off the extra mics. And the mics that are on the more headset.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I could ask our deputant to just do a test quickly. We have just adjusted the volume. Mr. Ghassan, would you be able to do a test?
For sure. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Just bear with us for one more moment.
We're just going to recess for a couple of minutes and see if we can get our technology working to hear the presenter. So we'll just take a 2-minute break. We are back on now. I'm wondering if it would be appropriate if you started at the beginning again. We heard some of it, but we want to make sure we hear all of it.
For sure. Okay. Mr. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Madam Mayor, members of council, and all those present. My name is Mustafa Ghassan from Delta Urban Inc. I am the group manager on behalf of the Sharon West Landowners Group. I wanted to attend today to provide an update to council and everyone regarding the status of the Mount Alba crossover at Countryman. It's unfortunate that Councillor Roy-DiClemente is not present today, because I know this is a very close and dear item to her, but I'll try my best to convey updates to her via email afterwards. I wanted to confirm that we have been working closely with both town and regional staff over the last year to get the detailed design and the engineering design approved. And we successfully got sign off from the region on June 11th of this year. Following approval, we tendered the work to various contractors, a total of 13. There was a lot of back and forth. Some declined due to capacity or the scope, but some needed additional clarification that we had to retender, and now we have a closing date of August 5th. So hopefully once we get good, decent bids by early August, we would be able to move forward and get the crossing implemented this year. I just wanted to reconfirm that we're diligently working towards get it in as soon as possible, and if there has been any delays, it's just due to the process of getting the design approved and make sure it meets municipal standards. And that's all.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from members of council? Councillor Johns, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and through you, Mr. Ghassan, thank you very much for the update. And my board mate, Councillor Roy-DiClemente, as you did mention, this has been something she's championing. It was well before I joined council as well, but happy to carry the flag as well for her, with her not being here today. I just wanted to call out, I understand, because I did some homework in advance of coming to the meeting today and understanding that the scope of your work is not simply the crosswalk, but it is also the multi-use paths on either side as well, in order to have complete connectivity and allow for the opportunity for obviously better pedestrian safety. And so is really relating to the crosswalk and recognizing that under these bids and you know, from the timeline perspective, from the municipality residents perspective, the province decided they needed a replacement school, Sharon. They figured that out. York Region received funds. They and the school's gotten built, and now there's going to be residents that are going to walk into. From the resident perspective, the importance of having that crosswalk in an expeditious manner, maybe outside of having the multi-use paths or using paths that are existing. If and when that you see that you have the ability to move forward after that August 5th date, I guess prioritizing the ability to get the crosswalk in, as opposed to kind of looking at it as a whole and putting in the multi-use paths as well. We need to prioritize safety of the kids that are going to be going to school. It's just extremely important.
No, certainly, through you, Madam Mayor. We're well aware of that, and we had the opportunity to meet with staff over, like yesterday, and we've been in constant communication with them over the past couple of weeks. We're aware of the urgency and are working towards it, and the priority is to get the crossover. I know the matter of the month is something important to the municipality as well, but the crossover at this point is kind of the focus. So we're going to aim to get it in as soon as possible. Just hopefully, we are always waiting on bids and some reasonable contracts to come back, and as soon as that's received, we'll hopefully be able to pull the trigger and get them going and have it done by so hopefully early mid-September.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there other questions? I'm not seeing any at this time. We look forward to completing this project with you, and we will follow it along as well. So thank you very much, and thank you for participating today in our meeting.
No, thank you, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. All the best.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the deputation made by Ghassan regarding the pedestrian crossover on Mount Albert Road at Countryman Road be received. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Foster, seconder. Councillor Crone. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move to presentations, item F in our agenda. There are no presentations at this time. We'll move to item G, which is council committees, boards, and groups. Councillor Crone, I'll pass the chair to you for this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a report from our Environmental Advisory Committee today, and they're requesting that Council promote clean energy sources and encourage the installation and use of heat pumps as alternatives to fossil fuels. Happy to hear any feedback or comments from committee. Councillor Leahy.
Thank you very much, through you, Councillor Crone. So I have a question with regard to a few items in the report, and I'm wondering if our team leader on this project would be available to answer the questions.
Thank you, Councillor Leahy. I don't believe we have members of our committee here today. We have, there's myself and our staff liaison, but it would probably be best in all seriousness, would probably be best answered through the committee. But if you'd like to ask your questions, maybe we could do our best and take a stab at it.
Thank you very much. Through you, Chair. So my question is, because the topic of heating pumps is the main focus of the memo that's been put before us, I wanted to ask if a study has been done on the total costs of installing and maintaining and the life cycle of heating pumps. I've spoken with residents who are aware of this memo coming forward, and they have concerns about the financial viability for heating pumps in the community, as well as the functioning of heating pumps in extreme temperatures, which we have here in Canada. So that was my first question. And then having read through the report, there were two other points I wanted to make, because under the description portion, EAC says that it's conscious that timing is not appropriate. And so I assume that that is referring to the recent decision of Enbridge, that they received a federal grant to extend the infrastructure into rural areas, such as Ward 3 of East Gwillimbury, and which is a good news story, but timing is everything in life. And so I'm finding it a bit contradictory that the town has been celebrating and approving of the expansion of Enbridge Gas in our municipality. However, there seems to be a push to restrict the gas infrastructure in our community.
Okay, just before I hand over to you, Councillor Carruthers, I will take a stab at your first questions, and if Councillor, you wanted to add to that, that's fine. First, your first question is, have we done any studies on installation of heat pumps, et cetera? No, we have not. We did have a public information meeting back, I believe it was in November of last year, where we had some folks come in and tell us about the advantages of heat pumps. And yes, there is some cost to them, but there is an offset too. Payback period is not too bad. I don't have the exact numbers to share it with you, but there is that. With respect to the second part, I think there was a desire, if I can give the spirit, and I need to be careful because I'm just the council liaison, so I'm not supposed to be the spokesperson for the committee, but I think there was an intent that we want to be getting off of fossil fuels as much as we can, and that it contributes to CO2, which is a climate change gas. Now, with EAC, certainly in our rural part of our town, our ward, Councillor Leahy, is that we have many of our folks on oil, which is the worst possible, next to coal. It's probably not the best to be using. Natural gas is, yes, an incremental improvement off of oil, but again, it's still a fossil fuel. I think our ultimate goal is trying to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels as much as possible. But I know, Councillor Carruthers, you have thoughts on this as well, so I'm going to hand, you wanted to say some things, so I'll let you have a go.
Thank you. First of all, I'm happy to move the recommendations. I think there will be some revisions as we go forward, but I'll just put those on the table. Over a year ago, we bought a heat pump, and I did a lot of research. As you know, I love doing research, and there is a lot of research out there. So while Councillor Crone says we haven't done the research, we don't need to do the research, there is plenty of official organizations that have done the research. The payback period is 3 to 5 years. I was spending about $5,000 a year on oil. So you can imagine how quickly you'll pay off a $10,000 heat pump. And as far as the cold climate, yes, there is cold climate heat pumps that work very well. Got through last winter, no problem at all. So I think Councillor Leahy's questions are exactly what this report is asking for, is to get this information out there. There's a lot of misinformation. No one is being forced to go onto a heat pump. I think they're just saying, let's make sure that the proper information is out there, because the technology has changed. Not everyone has time to do all the research and understand where the technology is at right now and how quickly this can save money. I think there's also, we had an email I think Councillor Foster and I, from someone who was talking about our bylaws need to be updated because there is a noise bylaw that refers to air conditioners but doesn't refer to heat pumps, which are the same yet quieter. So I think there is some work that we need to do to make sure that anyone who wants a heat pump is not in breach of our bylaws. So I think that this report has some good elements to it. I agree with Councillor Leahy that there is a bit of a contradiction that on one hand, we have our climate emergency, and then council approved fossil fuel expansion, and now we're looking at heat pumps. So I think we are trying to walk a fine line and have that balance. One of the things that came to mind when I read this is I remembered that during the last budget session, the mayor and council budget set aside $1,000 for climate action outreach. And I was wondering if this was a really appropriate moment to use that money for outreach, to let people know what's available, what the technology is, what the misconceptions are, to get it from really good sources, not to do our own research or have our own staff signing off on it, but just to point people to the sites that are out there. There's lots of sites out there that talk about the benefits of heat pumps. So I would really like to support this recommendation. And I had a question about whether our help is using heat pump technology to heat and cool. I'm wondering if Mr. Carmison could answer that.
Mr. Carmison, would you like to take a stab at that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the Health and Active Living Plaza does not use specifically heat pump technology. However, it does use high efficiency HVAC systems, including reclaim systems, and the most advanced building automation systems available. And it also uses building technologies such as thermal glazing, positioned in certain areas to allow natural light as well as heat into the facility. And there is as well energy reclaim systems both in the facility as a whole and in particular the aquatic center.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the rest of the committee before I go back to Councillor Leahy? Councillor Johns, Councillor Foster, you good? Okay, Councillor Leahy, please go ahead.
I have one further question regarding the financial implications, because I absolutely in agreement that it's wonderful to encourage options, whatever those options may be, but the financial implications in terms of this report that is before us are vague. I'm not comfortable with the vagueness of them. It states here that any cost associated with this initiative will be covered by existing budgets, and then it proceeds to say any cost in excess of approved budgets would be brought back to council for approval as necessary. And I think that more work needs to be done on understanding and combining our economics and the financial viability of these projects with the timing of them and the science of them. And so timing is everything in life. So I would also like to bring to everyone's attention that just last week, the province announced a $358 million investment in natural gas that will deliver affordable energy for families, saving up to $1,500 a year, while creating 7,000 jobs, skilled jobs, and attracting $4.5 billion in investment. So we need to keep our focus on the practical aspects of while we're encouraging and promoting research in other options for energy. There is also the aspect of when electricity fails, natural gas is still there for people in their homes. And so I would like to bring that to the attention of the council. So as the report is written now, I cannot support it. And so that is my position on the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Leahy. Were you going to recommend any changes to the to the motion?
Well, I would like to see some statistics, some numbers to back this up, and some tightening of the language and clarity of the language. There's words used in the report like net zero, which I would not hazard to guess that most residents are not aware of the definition of net zero, or they don't have an understanding of carbon neutrality. And I think that the priority of our residents, which is what I filter every decision through, is about the financial practicalities of them heating their homes, etc. So I would love to see more information from our staff to support this report that we could debate in the future. And I might even suggest that rather than getting into lengthy changes in the language of the report, because I think more research is needed, that we might table this and discuss it at another point in the future.
Councillor Carruthers, you've moved this item. How would you like to deal with this?
So we're not changing the report. Obviously, the report is from the Environment Committee. The recommendations on the report, the changes I had to it is just that the wording of it that says that in alignment with the approved environmental strategy, the Environmental Advisory Committee recommends council, blah, blah, blah. So I just want to take that out, that it's council requests staff to develop policies and campaigns to encourage staff, residents, and et cetera. Just taking out the Environmental Advisory Committee from those recommendations, because when we put a recommendation forward, it's council, not the Environment Committee, right? Now, to Councillor Leahy's points about gas, those of us who live in rural neighborhoods don't have the option of gas. It runs down my road, but there's no way to bring it up to my house without paying $28,000 to run it under the road and up to my house. I had a quote years ago. So yeah, exactly, that'll pay for a few heat pumps. So looking for our residents who don't have natural gas as an option, certainly a heat pump is much more reliable. And I guess one of the things that I should also say is that you can get a heat pump to supplement your oil furnace, and that's what I have, because my oil furnace still had years left on it. I didn't want to send it to the scrapyard, so that's my backup, and it came on a total time of once last season. But if my heat pump ever failed, I have that. So there's lots of information out there, a lot of misinformation. So I think this report gives staff the opportunity to look at what would help our residents. It might not help every resident. Those who are on natural gas maybe don't even consider it. But for those who are on oil, who are in the rural areas, who could really benefit from this, let's get that information out to them. To Councillor Leahy's point about how much it would cost, I propose that we use that $1,000 climate outreach in the Mayor and Council budget, because I think this would be very appropriate for it. It was assigned to 2024. We're getting towards the end of 2024, so I think there's nothing else that's pressing on this money. And I think the reason they left it open, I'm not on that committee, but my guess would be that the reason they left it open, that if there was something else that staff recommended, it would have to come back to council. So I think that was just a responsible comment in there, and that might have caused some confusion for some. But I think that was just a responsible comment that if it was going to cost more than existing budgets, it would definitely come back to council. So I'm happy to have these as written with the removal of the Environmental Advisory Committee recommends on both parts of those motions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carruthers. Just to clerks, I hope you've captured those comments. Councillor Leahy, you have one last comment?
Yes, my last comment is this. I would like to repeat what I said earlier for the benefit of all councillors, that just recently, Enbridge Gas received a federal grant to extend the infrastructure of the gas lines throughout the municipality of East Gwillimbury, and specifically to address the rural areas. So Enbridge Gas received a federal grant. So it is not up to the individual residents who live in rural areas to pay for those pipelines. So I think it's a good news story that Enbridge Gas is investing in the infrastructure of our community. And so again, I think that we need more time on this. We need more data, and I would like to see that data coming from the staff rather than anecdotal evidence. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Johns, I'm sorry, I missed, you had a question.
Thanks, Councillor Crone. I had a comment. He just spoke. I have one additional comment. I'll say that one first. That is correct about what Councillor Leahy is saying, but I want to be wary of misinformation as we are speaking directly to the public. While the infrastructure would be expanded, and again, that is a great step, as Councillor Crone called out. It's a move and a step in the direction from oil to natural gas. And but there's still a cost to residents in their specific connection fees that would be incurred. So I just wanted to call that out. But I do think the expanded step away from oil, and I think that what we are doing here today is helping to take that next step in what that could look like. I'm happy to support Councillor Carruthers' motion as it stands, as she has made those amendments and comments. I do want to say I'm not in agreement with everything that's in the report, but that doesn't mean that I don't think we should be taking the steps forward. It is already fitting within our existing budget. The report specifically says if there's added costs that they would be coming back to council, at which time I may decide to vote a different direction with new information on the table. But I will say that under the fact that we have declared a climate emergency, under our sustainability goals, we have the budget in place intended to be able to move items like this forward. Isn't about voting no will not save money. If I'm happy to vote no if I think that's going to save money. The budget will not change if I vote no. And so taking a small step forward in order to help educate and help people understand, I'm happy to support that and allow staff the opportunity to explore. It doesn't mean I agree with everything in the report. What it means is that I'm happy to allow for the staff to be able to take the next step. To that end, I'm happy to support Councillor Carruthers.
Councillor Foster, you have a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I go back to what Councillor Carruthers said. This is a personal choice whether you decide to use whatever service is available to you. I'm looking at what's on the agenda, and we want to request staff to develop policies and campaigns. I think 90% of the stuff that we've talked about here this morning should be done after we see the policies and campaigns. My personal suggestion, let's get a vote and get this done.
Right, so we've called the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We are on item H, corporate services with Councillor Crowthers in the chair.
And we only had one item, and that item had been withdrawn, so that will come back to us in September. Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing it. Moving on to item I, development services. In the absence of Councillor Roy-DiClemente, I will chair this portion of the meeting. Could I have a mover for the recommendation before you? Councillor Crone. General Manager Beijing, is there anything to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe Council is familiar with the particulars of this situation. The report is seeking approval of an interim provision to a developer whose construction was intended to proceed along the same timelines as the Sharon inline solution, and because there has been a delay, we're looking to provide them with allocation to support occupancy of the residences, and that allocation would then be recovered back by the town. Happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Council? I'm not seeing any at this time. Could I have a mover, please? I have a mover already. Be it resolved that Development Services Planning Branch DS 2024-22 dated July 25th, 2024, entitled Request for Interim Provision of Residential Servicing Allocation, Ashley Park Development, Sharon, Inc., be received, and that Council provide an interim allocation of 20 single detached equivalent units of residential servicing allocation for the town's reserve to facilitate the occupancy of the multiple dwelling units, legally described as blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on Plan 65M 4791 in accordance with the approved subdivision agreement, subject to the following conditions: that the proposed development conforms with the official plan of the York Region official plan and any applicable provincial plans and policies. B, that the applicant transfer an equivalent of 20 units back to the town upon completion of the Sharon inline solution or by December 31st, 2027, whichever comes first, and that council ratify this resolution at the July 25th, 2024 council meeting. All in favor? And that is carried. Second item that I have is Development Services Planning Branch Report Official Plan Amendment Application, Woodbine GP 19350, 19512, 19298, 19266, and 19222 Woodbine Avenue, 2176 and 2203 Farr Avenue, and 2196 Mount Albert Road, OPA 23-1. And this is deferred from our July 23rd, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor LaHaye. General Manager Beijing, anything to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There were some attachments that were missing from the original submission. They have been restored to the document, and staff are in chambers. Manager Baldessera and our planner too, Janani Nagelin, are there. Should council have, or members of the committee have any further questions about this report?
Are there any further questions regarding this report? Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you, and thank you for getting us the additional pieces for us to go through. It's very helpful. I am looking at the transportation network in the plan, and see that there is a north-south collector road in there, and when I look at Google Maps, it looks like that north-south collector road is going right through the new Loblaw facility. And I'm wondering, it doesn't look like it's going to be routed around. I think that facility really goes from Woodbine all the way to the other side. And so it concerns me because I know residents are interested in keeping traffic off of Woodbine. So that north-south collector is an important part of this amendment. And I'm wondering if you can provide some information on what am I missing on that? Why is that collector road in a position that it can't possibly exist in?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that the original transportation network was proposed prior to receiving the application for what we know as Woodbine 1, and that development, as the councillor has indicated, does impact what was originally proposed. The intent, and perhaps my colleague Mr. Molinari can speak to the redesign, but of the internal road network, and that those works are ongoing, but for this purpose of the expansion of the secondary plan area, that internal road network is located on the other side of Woodbine 1 and is not was not considered to be sort of, I guess, germane to the application before you. But perhaps Mr. Molinari can speak more to the work that's going on to address the internal road network and ensure that all properties are accessible, and to your point, diverts traffic away from Woodbine 1 as appropriate, or Woodbine Avenue as appropriate.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. The road network that was originally envisioned through our master plan, transportation master plan, actually there was a relief road that was going to go through the site. When Woodbine 1 came to fruition, the site was so large that there was no opportunity to bring a road through that location. So all these plans, they're kind of our best guess at what is going to come into those areas through development process. And with such a large site for Woodbine 1, it only made sense to not run that road through. So as future lands come online, we'll look at the types of development that are coming in, and if it makes sense to keep the road, then that road would stay. But if there are large single lots that are being built for larger facilities, that road doesn't really provide much of a benefit in that particular case, and it actually creates a problem for those developments to move forward. So where we can provide those relief roads and provide relief to the main artery, we will. But again, it's part of a planning process, and it's part of looking at what's coming in and what makes most sense in that particular area. And that's the rationale for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I would just disagree that my question's not germane to this, because without a collector road, we're putting a lot more traffic onto Woodbine if we expand the employment area. So while this road doesn't go to the area that we are talking about today, it certainly is supposed to relieve Woodbine. And so if we don't have that relief off Woodbine, it makes me question more about the appropriateness of putting more employment along there without any sort of collector road. So what I'm hearing from Mr. Molinari is that we will look at other ways to have a collector road in there when it makes sense. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, a lot of it comes down to what the land fabric looks like when that area gets developed. If it's carved up into a number of different smaller pieces, then providing access through that secondary road is important. It's necessary. But if it's coming in as a large block, access from Woodbine, it could be acceptable, or there could be other opportunities depending on what that property looks like when it comes in. So a lot of it depends on, we do our best guess at the beginning through the planning phase to look at what we cover off all the opportunities in that area. But then once the actual development comes in, we look at it a little more closely, and we can make a decision as to whether it makes sense to put that in or reduce it in one particular area and keep it in another area, or whatever that happens to be.
That makes sense, as long as we're keeping in mind that we want to keep the traffic off Woodbine wherever we can. Thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? All those in favor? And that's carried. Item number 2, development service. We are now at item J, corporate services with Councillor LaHaye in the chair. Engineering and Public Works.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. I would like to introduce item number 1. We have 4 items today. Item number 1 is the memo regarding winter maintenance update. And can I have a mover for this, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Carruthers. General Manager Molinari, would you like to make any comments? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. This memo is an annual update to Council, just to advise on the past winter season and report on our continuous improvement initiatives for this very significant town operation. And the 2023-24 winter season was actually overall quite light compared to other years. However, there were still a fair number of significant storm events that staff had to deal with. Some of one of the initiatives we had last year was the pilot for the seniors and persons with special needs windrow clearing program. And I think because of the very light year, we didn't get the sort of take up on that program that we had anticipated. So what we'd like to do is just extend that one more year to see if there's more people that are interested in that particular program. And we'll work with corporate communications to advertise that in a way that may be more beneficial to reach the people that would be able to take advantage of that program. So that's what we're proposing on the windrow clearing program. couple other items that were noteworthy. You know, there was some enhanced boulevard clearing in downtown Mount Albert that proved to be very effective. So we'll continue with that as well. And as we go through the downtown Mount Albert revitalization project, there'll be some changes to the sidewalks, et cetera, as we move through that, and we will maintain the same standard for that project once that's put in place. The other item I just wanted to bring to council's attention was, you know, every year we have a fair bit of sod damage, which is somewhat inevitable. You know, when the operators have a fresh blanket of snow, it's very difficult to know where the sidewalk is. And, you know, when you have a blade that's pretty much the same width of the sidewalk, there's very little room for error. The grass isn't always frozen at that point. So I know residents often wonder, you know, why is it so hard to keep the plow on the sidewalk and why we get this side damage? Well, so what we've done is we've got our contractor to get a slightly narrower blade, which gives a little bit more opportunity to find to find the sidewalk and keep within the sidewalk limits. So we're hoping that will reduce that somewhat, but we do note that you know, sod damage is inevitable, and all we're trying to do is minimize that, and we'll do our best to do that over time. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. Someone needs to turn off the mic. Thank you. And thank you for this report and the great work that's been done. I really appreciate it. I'm 100% in favor of the continuation of the pilot. I just want to get some clarity if when we approved it, if we approved a 2-year pilot, or if we would like another motion that council supports the continuation of the pilot. I'm wondering if we don't remember if it was a 1-year or 2-year pilot, that language just to support the continuation of the pilot might be a good addition to this, but I'll defer to the chair and the clerk.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carruthers, for the question. General Manager Molinari, I'm sure you have an answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. It was originally envisioned as a 1-year pilot, but I don't know that we actually had council resolution because we were doing the pilot as just through our operating budget, and we were going to report back on that. So with if council wishes to provide direction, that's fine. If not, we can just proceed on that basis, and as we did this year, and we'll report back next year on some of the findings of that.
Okay, I think it would be good just to add that because I think council wants to be very open that we are supporting. So I will add to my resolution if my colleagues agree that be it resolved that council support the continuation of the windrow clearing pilot.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank Mr. Molinari for extending the pilot. I know that was a big issue for me and a few others around this table, and I think it's the right thing to do. I also want to thank you for, I know you're addressing concerns that residents have with their sidewalks, and you're taking steps for continuous improvement, and I think that's a really good mantra to have, you know, in this organization about continuous improvement. If we just say, you know, nothing's broken, we're not going to fix it, well, that's not continuous improvement. So I really applaud you for doing that. I hope we can see more of that. I know it was a lighter year last year with snow and whatnot. You know, my colleague's furnace only went on once, so we know it was a good year. But I hope we've been able to bank some money that we didn't have to use and clear it up. But you've got the department that you know, people come to you with problems. You know, it's garbage collection. It's, you know, it's clearing snow. That's where our taxes go. And I know it's not an easy department. So I think a pat on the back and some kudos to you and your team is warranted. And thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crone. Are there any other comments or suggestions before we take a vote from any of the other councillors? Not seeing any, I just wanted to add my observation that last year we approved this pilot project in the budget, and there was such a tight turnaround, literally about 2 weeks before the winter season started, that I think one of the challenges was getting the message out. So from feedback that I had in the community, I wanted to share specifically with communications that we might want to engage with the 55 and up club because they are our target audience, and there are almost 300 members in the 55 and up club, as well as potentially using Curbex signs, because I know when I was driving through Aurora, they also were launching a pilot program for snow removal, and I noticed their Curbex signs. So I think there are other opportunities for connecting with residents, particularly those who are not necessarily on social media. So do we want the resolution to be put up on the screen for everyone, or yes, Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair, the resolution is now on the screen before you.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, Councillor Carruthers?
When you mentioned 55 and up, I just want to put a plug for Ward 1. We have Golden Anchor out there too, so
Oh,
let's
yes.
remember our Golden Anchor
Absolutely.
seniors.
We want
Thank
to
you.
reach out to all of the
Thank you.
community groups, including Golden Anchor. Absolutely. Okay, so if everyone's had an opportunity to read the resolution, I'd like to take the vote. All those in favor? And that motion is approved. And so if there are no other comments from General Manager Molinari, I would like to move on to item number 2. And so item number 2 is the active transportation, Leslie Street, Green Lane to Manor, Hampton Street report here. And so can I have a mover for this? Councillor Foster, thank you very much. And General Manager Molinari, do you have any comments to make?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So this memo provides an update on Council's request to review potential active transportation opportunities on Leslie north of Green Lane. So as part of that, those works, we reached out to the region and we determined that they're actually beginning their design this fall for Leslie Street. So the timing is really good on this one. So we'll work with the region on and get the multi-use trail or multi-use path or sidewalk, whatever that happens to be, in the boulevard, and that'll be completed as part of those design works. The catch is that the construction right now is slated in 2031, but once the design's complete, we'll see if there's any opportunity to bring some of those boulevard works in early. But the challenge is, obviously, we don't want to be doing works that would be throwaway. So if there's something that can be done that fits into the ultimate design for that particular section, then we'll come back to council with some of those opportunities if there are any. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for those comments. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing none, then we'll take the vote. All those in favor? And that motion is passed. We'll move on to item number 3, and it is the Green Fleet Strategy. Can I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Crone, thank you very much. And Councillor Molinari, well, not quite yet. General Manager Molinari, please, if you have any comments to share with us. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. So this memo is the first of many that we'll be bringing to council on this particular topic. We have started to procure hybrid vehicles, and this year we actually just took possession of our first fully electric pickup truck, a Ford Lightning, that I was able to see earlier this weekend. It's a really nice truck. It's going to serve us well, and it's one of these things where the industry is evolving in this area, and it's difficult right now to set a firm strategy of what that is, other than we want to have a strategy and we want to start procuring electric vehicles where it makes sense operationally and economically to do so. So we will be looking at additional either hybrids or electric vehicles when we through our normal procurement process, and seeing what we can do to fit those vehicles with certain groups where it would be beneficial to do so. As part of that, there's also some opportunities for grant funding for charging stations and other things that we'll have to do across the town in order to provide the infrastructure to support these vehicles. But the industry is coming up with some good solutions for us now, and although it's not there yet for things like snow plows and some larger heavy duty equipment, that may come over the next few years. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this, and I just wanted to let council know that we're on it. And actually, our director of operations has an electric vehicle personally, so he's always looking for opportunities to increase the fleet in this area for that when it makes sense to do so. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, General Manager Molinari. Are there any questions from councillors? Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through you to Mr. Molinari, we know in the last few years the auto industry was struck with significant supply chain issues. Has that been resolved, or are we still struggling with that, and is that impacting your access to electric vehicles?
Through you, Madam Chair. Electric vehicles, there was a fair number of the Ford Lightning trucks available for whatever reason. But as far as supply chain issues, yeah, we're still looking at 1 year to 2 years for some of our larger trucks. So we've had to factor that in, and you almost have to get your crystal ball out and see what those trucks will be like in 2 years' time. And so we're conscious of that, and we're just trying to stick to our normal fleet schedule for replacement. But yeah, the timelines are still pretty long on the deliveries for these things.
Are there any other questions? No, seeing none from the other councillors, I have a question that I may direct towards General Manager Molinari, or perhaps towards our Fire Chief Main Prize. It's recently come to my attention that certain electric vehicles there's been a recall on, and they have been banned from entering ferries, like the ferry to Manitoulin Island, for example, the Chichimat. And so I'm wondering if there are any impacts on the development and growth of an electric vehicle fleet, as well as electric vehicles in our community, with regard to any safety issues or training issues required to deal with any potential electric vehicle challenges.
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Just with respect to the fire safety issues, certainly the modern electric vehicles are quite safe. A very small percentage of them have run into some unique challenges with the construction of the battery packs. When they are involved in fire situations, that they are extremely challenging to extinguish. They present some very unique hazards. We've recently participated in some training within our own department, and there's more training coming through the Office of the Fire Marshal, as well as some of our local associations to provide additional training and tools to mitigate some of these resources. But I think I would suggest that in general, they're very safe vehicles, with a very small percentage of them being affected by these deficiencies or defects that have resulted in some fires.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And General Manager Molinari, you'd like to add a comment?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. My understanding was it was a recall on one particular vehicle that was the problem. So I don't think it's widespread. I think it was a recall on that particular vehicle, and once that recall has been dealt with, then they will be likely returning to normal on that particular matter.
Thank you very much. I appreciate understanding the potential impacts and hearing that there are training opportunities which you've already taken advantage of and may perhaps continue in the future to train further with to address this specific area. So are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor? Thank you very much, and that is approved. And so we'll move on to the last item in the Engineering and Public Works Department, which is Storm Pond Monitoring Plan and Maintenance Prioritization Update. And can I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foster, thank you very much. And General Manager Molinari, any comments?
Through you, Madam Chair. So this memo provides an update on the works being completed to manage the storm water infrastructure in partnership with the LSRCA. The work will also refine our storm water maintenance and capital program for future years and assist with the storm water master plan that we'll be getting underway with later this fall. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any councillors with questions or comments? Councillor Crone, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I know maybe this is a question that's best saved for when we get into budget time, but I know some municipalities do a charge for stormwater and they take it away so that it's removed from the water budget. I know not every municipality does it. We don't do it. Has there been any talk internally about that sort of financing model, or are we going to leave things as they are?
Through you, Madam Chair. Actually, the funding for a lot of our stormwater infrastructure is currently unfunded. So we have a fair bit of, it's actually a fairly expensive program that, and many municipalities are going through this at the current time. And so we'll be looking at financial strategy, working with finance and Mr. Marshall's area through our master plan process to look at what sort of numbers we're looking at and what is the funding model to do that. So it could be, some sort of ramp up model where, we understand what the dollars and cents are and when we ramp that in over time, or, some other alternative means of being able to deal with it. But currently, all of our storm pond infrastructure, it doesn't have, there's long service life on all these things, but there is no financial strategy to replace it at this point in time. And that is the good thing is that most of our infrastructure is still relatively young, and there's time to be able to put that financial strategy together before it needs to be replaced. So that's the good side of it, but the bad side is that we do need to come up with a funding strategy to deal with that.
Thank you for that. I think that speaks to some, the asset management that we've been working on, and it's part of a bigger problem, or I should say opportunity, for us to get our arms around this. So thank you very much. I appreciate your candor.
Any other questions from other council members? Seeing none, I'd like to take the vote on this. And so all those in favor? And that is moved. And so that is the final item. General Manager Molinar, do you have any final comments?
Nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hay. And we are now under item K, which is Parks, Recreation and Culture, with Councillor Crone in the chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a couple of items on our agenda today, and the first one is dealing with Parks, Recreation and Culture Memo Health and Active Living Plaza update. Could I just have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foster. Mr. Carmison, could you give us the update?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The memorandum prepared for Council provides a routine quarterly update for the Health and Active Living Plaza project. Our staff project management team, who's joining us here in the chambers today, is pleased to report continued progress with the project. The project continues to track on schedule, with substantial completion scheduled for the first half of 2025. Staff are working with the local area developer in partnership to construct the event street, which is on the east elevation of the property. Staff are also preparing the park development for tender later this year, with a planned report back to Council for contract award. And staff have worked with finance and the development industry to adjust the development charges for the background study to capture actual costs for the park construction based on market conditions. Our team's also pleased to report that the project is well within the council-approved budget. In addition, staff will be organizing tours with mayor, council, and town staff later this summer and into the fall. Be happy to answer any questions that council may have related to the project.
Thank you, Mr. Carmison. This is exciting news. We are on time and on budget, which is good. Do we have any questions from committee? Councillor Leahy, please go ahead.
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question as a comment. I've been enjoying watching the development of the Health and Active Living Plaza through the drone images that are being offered on our website. So it's kind of like one of those, you know, you can watch them and see how it's quickly coming together. And so that's exciting to see the progress visually. And other residents, if they want to see the progress, they can also take advantage of looking at the images on the website provided by the drone. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. All right. I will call a vote to accept, receive the report. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Second item on our agenda is the memo on permitting policy update. Mr. Carmison, can you take us through that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's best practice to ensure our policies and procedures are kept current, in particular when preparing to open new facilities with expanded and enhanced program and permit opportunities. This memorandum provides council with an update on some planned outreach to refresh our permit policy over time. Be happy to answer any questions related to the process.
Thank you, Mr. Carmison. Before I take any questions, I need a mover. Councillor Leahy. Okay. Any questions on this, comments? Councillor Carruthers, please go ahead.
Thank you. As we move forward with this, can we keep in mind what is happening with our committees and community groups? I want to make sure that there's never a problem with community groups and committees being able to permit space when they have meetings or they have events. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Mr. Carmison, do you have any other updates you'd like to share with the committee at this time?
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Do members of the committee have any questions for Mr. Carmison? Seeing none, I will pass the chair back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We are at item L, Fire and Emergency Services with Councillor Foster in the chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, we've saved the best for last, right, Chief? That's what we'll go with. Before we get started, I just want to congratulate you, Chief, yourself and your staff for the event that you held last night. It was a great welcome to new staff to the department. So we have one item on today's agenda. It's an organizational structure update, a little bit of housekeeping, and a couple of new things too. So can I have a mover for this? Councillor Leahy. And Chief Mainprice, can you guide us through and provide whatever information you require, you think we need?
Chair Foster, thank you for the comments regarding last night's event and the opportunity to provide some additional commentary around the memo. As someone who is new to the organization, it was certainly a priority for myself to conduct some analysis of the organization to better understand it and all the operations. This analysis identified some opportunities to clarify some responsibilities of our staff and to clarify the command and control structure that serves as the foundation for all of our policies and procedures, both emergency and non-emergency related. The updated structure now clearly identifies position responsibilities, better aligns with our local and provincial comparables, ensures accountability, transparency, removes some ambiguous positions, and better aligns with the current collective agreement. It'll serve as the first step to many in reviewing the organization, and the next step further to the organizational chart will be to identify job descriptions, identify any training gaps, and then create a plan to ensure that all of our staff have the adequate training to deliver the services that are so required. And I'm happy to take any specific questions related to the memo.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions from members of committee? I'm seeing none. This is good. So we can move ahead with a vote. All in favor of receiving the memo? And that is carried. And with that, I can turn it back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Noting that there are no items M through O, if there are no questions from members of the committee, I'll now move to item P.
Would you like me to take this?
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to you, Councillor Crone. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to bring this notice of motion forward. It's in respects, it's to help out a deputation that we had at our last council committee of the whole meeting, rather, from Kindred Spirits. And I think there was an ask at that time to help give them a bit of support so that would assist them in going forward to the province in getting some support around current provincial legislation. So one of the things I'm going to ask for is that everyone, if we could support this, this notice of motion, but also waive procedure that would allow us to deal with it today. I think we've had some time to socialize it over the last day or so, and so I'm first seeking that we go ahead and waive procedure and allow it to be considered today. Councillor Leahy, you're going to move that?
Yes, I'm happy to move that.
Thank you. Are there any objections to that? Seeing none, so if we could all vote, all those in favor? Okay, that's carried. You have the notice of motion before you. Are there any questions or concerns? I think it's, if we can help the folks at Kindred Spirits deal with this, this will remove a fairly big hurdle in their way. I'm not saying that there's not other hurdles, but if it's a big one out of the way, I think if we could deal with that, it's going to save a lot of folks' time, energy, and money, not just the applicants, but also our staff. So any questions or concerns around this? Councillor Leahy, you wanted to add something?
I wanted to add the fact that having toured the facility in person, that I can with confidence support ratifying that today. And so and the fact that back to school is September, and we have no council meetings in August. So in terms of the sense of urgency and keeping the ball rolling, I think it would be beneficial for us to proceed with this and our endorsement today. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have before us the notice of motion and with the addition to have it ratified today. Madam Clerk, have we covered that correctly?
Through Mr. Chair, I believe so, yes. You have waived the rules to consider it, and I believe at this point, perhaps I can ask our deputy to bring the notice onto the screen. We have included an amendment to just ratify the resolutions onto today's council meeting agenda.
All right, and help me, did I get a mover for this? Oh, sorry, it's me. It's one of those days. Okay. Unless there's any other questions or comments, I will call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Mr. Johns, are you opposed? Or are you in favor? Or are you just, is there a time lag? Councillor Johns?
There's a time lag. I'm wholly in favor.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be sure. All right, motion is carried. Thank you very much. And we'll bring this forward to our council meeting tonight, or at 2, rather. Madam Mayor, back to you.
Thank you very much. We are at other business, and there is none at this time. And that will take us to an adjournment. If I could have a mover, please. Thank you. Be it resolved that the meeting of the Committee of the Whole Council adjourn at 11:15 a.m. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much, and we'll take a break.